for all of our digital transformation. Very big welcome to all of our friends joining us on this digital transformation journey. I'll do that again. Very big welcome for everyone joining us on our digital transformation journey. My name is Matt Kesby. I'm the founder and Chief AI Officer at Multiply Tech and Go Team. And the intent behind these sessions is to help get you inspired to take action on your own digital transformation journey using both AI and automation. And it is the combination of these two together that's really going to make the big difference in organizations. And in today's session, I'll be sharing with you what will be part one, as I give you some insights into some of the things that we're doing and show you the approach that we're taking as well. And then our next session will actually be in 2 weeks' time. So we're going to start bringing these to you bi-weekly, so every 2 weeks. And then I can show you the implementation of what we do. So ideas and getting started first. And my intent for today is to get you inspired to pick something in your organization and start the planning process. And then from that, we can move over into the execution phase. So let's jump into it for digital transformation for today. And I'll also be sharing with you some of the tools that we use to make all this work. So let's check it out. And here we go. So digital transformation, AI and automation. So it'll be bi-weekly, and the things that we'll be covering are automate and innovate. So it really is looking at our businesses differently on how we're going to streamline things for the future. Ultimately, we want to boost the customer experience. And I think that's critical because we're all here to get more customers coming through, customers staying for longer with our organizations, and just to make it easier for our teams to scale and deliver that incredible customer service along the way. And lead the way. Really want to get the competitive edge, because businesses are going to change, and they're going to change so remarkably. And it was only recently that I heard Peter Diamandis and Iman Ishmael speaking about the fact that the next billion-dollar company will be founded with just 3 people, and that everyone really needs to be trained in AI, and everyone's augmenting themselves so they can get 10x, 20x, 100x the type of outputs. Let's hear from Salim Ishmael and also Peter Diamandis.
You said that the next billion-dollar company will be founded by 3 people. How is that possible?
Yeah, if you look back in history, maybe 50, 70 years ago, it needed about a 10,000 person company to create $1 billion valuation.
That's crazy.
Right? Then it dropped to about 1,000 people. Instagram was 13 people. Now we'll get it down to 3 people, because AI will handle most of the execution work.
Every part of your team, right? There's going to be AI supporting sales and marketing, and this is an AI that helps you do your job better.
Every single person needs to be trained in AI and absolutely augment themselves 10, 20, 100x.
Now, a reality is that we may not all be planning on building billion-dollar companies, but if you're here or you're watching this replay, then I bet that you really have a desire to build a great company. And to build a great company, it means that we're going to deliver upon our mission. We're going to have raving fan customers, people who work in our organization, they've got really high engagement and high morale because they feel like they're winning at the work that they're doing, and that you've built this economic engine that's able to reward everyone in the organization above the industry standards. And in order to do that, we really need this hyper productivity and these gains that we will really only see today through AI and automation. You see, when we can drive high engagement and high morale, what we can see is an up to 300% output for an individual. But as humans, it's hard to maintain that consistently. And so the idea then is for us as business leaders is to find the right types of AI and automation to actually help people to execute at higher volumes and really win at the work that they're doing. Now, I foresee a world where we're going to be able to soon run our organizations with a smaller footprint of people, deliver much higher levels of productivity, and therefore have the profitability and the revenue gains as a result of it. And, this is, it's not news, it's certainly going on. In fact, earlier this year, Klarna's CEO came out to share how they had shifted to AI agents to support them in their live chat. There's been another update just recently this month in September, where the CEO came out to say they could help reduce company headcount by 50%. And that what they've done essentially is put a hiring freeze on. That doesn't mean from a growth perspective. So they're still hiring people. They're just the roles are different, or in some cases when people leave, they just don't replace. And I don't think it's a case of we can run our organizations with just 3 people, at least not yet for most of us. The game is actually, though, to do it as you're growing, is to either maintain that same net position of people, or it's looking at the mix that we have, that we've got the talent that's actually going to be able to build the company for the future. And I think getting the talent right, this is such a people and technology play. It isn't just technology, because we need people to implement the technology. Here's a few words from Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, as he shares in a conversation, I believe, with Y Combinator around this topic.
Resist the urge to hire mediocre people. Vinod Khosla, who's speaking later in the course, has a saying that I love, which is, the team you build is the company you build. And this is really true. I didn't appreciate how true this was for a long time. But if you build a team of great people and you have a product that people love, you have a 90-something% chance of success. Those are both really hard to do, and they're independent variables, but don't ignore the team point. The best CEOs I know spend huge amounts of their time recruiting and retaining their talent.
Yeah, I love this one. Best CEOs spend a huge amount of time recruiting and retaining the talent. And the retaining people, there's a lot to driving great culture in organizations, but the one fundamental component of it is that everyone feels safe and they feel like they're winning. And you want that psychological safety so that people can be really creative. And the feeling of winning is the progress part, because progress really equals happiness for human beings. And so to do this, we're often, avoid the urge to hire mediocre is such a good statement there, in order to find the top talent that are engaged in wanting to win and drive the organization forward. Now, this means that we actually need to hire people with high IQ, so that intelligence, high EQ, that's the emotional intelligence, and then high XQ, that's the ability to execute and deliver results. And when we build a culture of learning, innovation, and winning, all of a sudden you attract more and more of that top talent. Now, if you want a little cheat code when it comes to hiring new top talent, we can certainly help you at GoTeam for your next people hires, because you know that we are completely immersing ourselves in this whole digital transformation space. And that, as you see, free trainings like we have on YouTube, on our YouTube channel or Zoom and so forth, but there's even more beyond that as well, especially for team members. Now, a lot of the digital transformation guidance we take from the great book by McKinsey & Co. called Rewired. It's definitely designed for larger organizations, but there's plenty in there for smaller organizations as well. And the areas that we'll place a real focus on when it comes to digital transformation are these areas of marketing, customer service, sales support, software, and finance. That would be like the 5 big buckets. The reality is that we often transition across multiple departments when it comes to actually executing anything in our organizations. And so today I'm going to share with you an early part 1 of a journey of our own, which is around digital transformation and our build out, as we focus on something that I think is important for all organizations, and it's called time to value. Now, time to value, or TTV, is a metric that measures how long it takes a new customer to start receiving value from a product or service. And this here's the key indicator of what customer satisfaction, your adoption rates, and customer retention looks like. Now, if you're in a fast food environment, time to value may be very quick, because they get the burger, they take a bite, and the value is received. But if you're any sort of services organization, time to value can take a little bit longer. And you may also find that it covers a range of different departments as well. And as a result, there's often risk as we change hands from one person to the next, as the different touch points occur along a customer journey. And so the time to value, I'm going to look at the Go team for the people business. Time to value is essentially associated to how fast an employee can get themselves to delivering results that are beneficial to an organization. Now, if we do a quick Google search, what we'll find is that the time to value for a team member in an organization, so now you can even think of your own team members inside your organization, how long does it take? In fact, I'll put this question out to the crowd. On average, what would you say? How long does it take to get a team member up to speed where they're starting to produce the type of value that you're saying, hey, great work, you're really contributing? Just pop a thought in weeks or months in the chat. I'll find my chat. How long on average do you think it might take? We got 6 months, 3 months, 6 months. Yeah, it's generally it'll be seen as anywhere from this 3 or 5 to 12 months even. So somewhere along there, and it's going to depend on a range of factors: complexity of the role, quality of documentation, clarity around things like KPIs, all and training support, as well as the individual's drive and motivation. It's quite a complex area. And yet the faster we can get a team member in their time to value to delivering results, the better it is for the team member. It's going to increase their engagement, their morale, their confidence, and then the appreciation for the team member and those within the organization. And so we've put a challenge out to ourselves. We call it the 5-day challenge to get a team member to their time to value and that productivity within 5 days. Now, how we do that, it's quite complex and there's lots of touch points and there's a lot of human involvement. And we've realized that to scale, we need to hand a good portion of this over to AI and automation so that everyone gets a high value impact. And so that's the game that we'll be playing in this example here. I'm going to show you some of the tools that I'm using as part of my planning. As we go through this process together, we'll look at this approach, which is discover, design, deploy, educate, execute, and then evaluate. When we go through these 6 phases here, discover, design, deploy, educate, execute, and evaluate, you get yourself an implementation plan. And with that implementation plan, you can hold yourself accountable in the execution, because most of these digital transformations, there's usually someone in the organization. And if it's not a full-time role, we're juggling lots of different things at the same time. You're wearing many hats. And so to actually create some structure around it, you find this really beneficial. Let me just stop sharing my screen for a sec, and I need to find a bit of pre-work I was doing this morning that just disappeared in my thousands of tabs that I've got open. So in 2 seconds as I bring that one up. All right, and so the first stage here is the discover stage, and I'll share my screen in just a sec. In the discovery phase, we've got to do a bit of a plan first of all. And with that plan, we need to set ourselves a goal. We need to have an understanding of what the challenge actually is and what we're looking to achieve. And I think the clearer that you get on what your challenge is, then you can set the goal and you can start to create your roadmap of where you want to be. As Stephen Covey says, begin with the end in mind. It's such a powerful way to think about this. And the risk is sometimes that we just get started and distracted. So we're going to begin with the end in mind in this example of the 5-day challenge. And the end in mind is not just someone winning at the 5-day mark. In the Go Team business, it's also about radiating the sales. So getting a client who has such amazing time to value in the first 5 days that they want to repurchase. So if you're thinking in your own business, what does time to value look like? And what's the driver behind it? For most of us, it will be to get the client or customer to repurchase or come back again or tell others, create a testimonial and create raving fans. So beginning with the end in mind, I'll share with you what we're looking to achieve. And it's going to look quite simple in what we're looking to achieve as the output. Where the complexity comes is getting the human beings to actually do the work that gets us there. So I'll start with showing this one. If we were to say at the end in mind, it kind of looks quite simple in a sense that what we're looking to do is to get each team member with their scoreboards around their metrics set up and executing on their scoreboards. That's what it looks like in our organization. We use the OKRX app, so it's using the OKRs methodology for objectives and key results. We also throw in a couple of extra metrics called X factors, which are the behavioral metrics for people to execute upon. But just starting with even metrics, sometimes that's a real challenge for organizations to figure out what are the metrics that we're going to use. In fact, if I was to take a quick survey of 10 people and ask them how many people here have very clear metrics for every team member in their organization, it'd be rare that I'd have 1 in 10 people that would say, yes, we have clear metrics. And so it's more common that people start their roles with a position description that they never look at again, and maybe some standard operating procedures that they might read. And then the metrics part is usually a little bit rubbery. There's a directional intent, but not the hardcore metrics for people to work against. And so we need, in our organization, we start out first by getting the AI to write some metrics for us. So in this example here, we've got for an accountant, and if they've got a objective to drive cost management and initiate this across the organization, and then they've got a key result to decrease organizational cost by 10% by year end, we would then look for some behavioral metrics, which we call X factors, that are the best bet of driving that number down. Now, the AI suggests these for us. We don't have to commit to them. We can adjust them. But there are examples like identify 15 areas of cost reduction across all areas supported with data on a monthly identification cycles, implement 3 new cost-saving initiatives, deliver at least 90% of projected savings in our semi-annual runs, report 4 savings progress to management, up-to-date and relevant information in bi-monthly reports, and collaborate with 10 departments to achieve savings successfully implemented at least 8 initiatives ongoing throughout the year, and monitor 12 monthly expenses against budget, no more than 3% over budget monthly monitoring. Now, we might look at those and say that was great AI, but I might take one of those out because I might want to make it a little bit easier for the person to get to in their first period. Might like to add something new in there. But the idea is we get some metrics to get started. Now, if those metrics were to just live on a piece of paper, the chances of executing them are very low. So we want to get these into the scoreboards where team members will meet on a daily basis around those metrics and make commitments to drive them forward. Now, what you see on this scoreboard is actually one of my personal scoreboards. Okay, it's not the accountant's version, but that will give you some insight. And from here, we then need to think of this challenge of how do we get a team member to get their scoreboards created, updated, and they're executed consistently in week 1 so that by day 5, they're meeting or exceeding the targets on their scoreboards. Now, it often sounds really easy when we say it out loud strategically, but when it comes to actually getting people to understand their scoreboards, create their scoreboards, then learn about things like having daily huddles and coming up with daily planning and tasks, and then updating their scoreboards, and then reporting out on those, there's a fair bit to it. And if you're like me, then chances are, or has anyone had this before where you hire a new team member, you really need them, you know how much you need them, and then they arrive and you feel like you've got no time to train them. Has anyone had that before? Pop a 1 in the chat if you've ever experienced that before. You know you need the person, you're so excited they're there, and then they arrive and it's like, oh, there's no time to train them. And it can feel quite overwhelming. And so we tend to cut corners at that point in time, or we do the classic, here's your laptop, here's the guide, go get it. You got the job now, make a difference. And the poor individual with all the best intent can start working on activities, but after a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, you might suddenly go, oh, I'm really grateful for the work, but we're not quite aligned. We're not actually pointing in the direction that's going to make the biggest impact. And so it's that, and I can share with you, we've got 1,100 employees that we get to run this experiment very, very frequently, that this is a real challenge. The more people that you hire, that and even in a world where we may have less people to hire in the future, we still need to make sure that the top talent that we're hiring can execute really quickly. And so in this first discovery phase, we need to look at our end in mind and essentially brainstorm out all the different tasks that would need to be done to get the individual to achieve that, in this case, the 5-day execution challenge. And, quick question, quick quiz. Is anyone here using task management software? And if you are, what are you using for task management software? Or what do you use for task management? It could be pen and paper, Excel, or maybe you use an online piece of software. Ryan's got Zoho Projects, big Zoho devotee there, Ryan. I think you've got that right across your business. Fantastic. Anyone here just use, Etsy's got Excel. Anyone just use pen and paper? They're all fine. There's no right, wrong, good or bad. Just a bit of an understanding of where we're at. Next question is, does anyone use any workflow management tools? A workflow management tool. A workflow management tool is something that will allow you to have some consistent tasks that need to be executed in a particular order. Nicole's got Teams backed up by pen and paper for deadlines. Yeah, I still go to pen and paper a lot too. It feels so natural. Maybe I'm showing my age as well. But balancing both the digital and the paper-based. Now, in our new world of AI and automation, naturally we need to move over to adopting some form of task management and preferably workflow automation as well, especially as you get these consistent activities occur in the organization. And why we want to have this digitized task management and workflow automation is that it's there that we can then start hooking the AI and the real automation onto it so that it can take off and start to deliver with consistency around the execution. And but like pen and paper and Excel are really great places for us to start our planning, and then we move over into something more sophisticated. Now, for us, what we use for our task management and our planning, and if anyone would like to check this out, it is in our internal usage at the moment and for our clients. But if you'd like a beta release copy of our platform, I'd be happy to get that into your hands and even give you access right through with no charge through until the end of the year, maybe end of January, if you want to give it a go. This is our task management tool. It's called Do This Too. And we call to that Do This to Achieve That. And it does more than just task management. It also helps us to create processes where we can map out processes and then convert those into automated workflows. And within the actual system to set up a process, and I'll show you this when I'll save and exit, you can do your process mapping inside the tool itself. And quite neatly, when it comes time to map out a process, we've got this great brainstorming tool where we can brainstorm up all the different steps in a specific process. You can even do this at the speed of speech because you can just talk to it and it will build out the next step. So, for example, I was doing this earlier this morning, looking at our 5-day execution challenge, and I've come up with 22 steps already that needs to be executed consistently. And that's not the end of it that needs to be done. So you imagine, I think I'm going to get to probably about 40 steps in this particular process. There may even be more by the time I really get down to the detail of what needs to be done for this consistent execution to occur. Now, if you know anything about how our brain works, or you've been on one of my other sessions, we can only really hold about 7 ideas in our head at any one point in time. And that lasts for about 20 seconds before one of those ideas goes poof away and the next one comes into place. So if we think that we can achieve consistency of execution without things like checklists and workflows to help us with our consistency, we end up kidding ourselves. And what happens is our brains get really full with all these different ideas, and suddenly we're going, oh, I missed out on executing that. I need to catch up. So this is the benefit of having task management systems, processes, but it's more than just the documentation of the process, it's converting it to the workflow. And then, as I mentioned earlier, the beauty of it is when you get there is that we can then start to add the AI and automation. So here's an example from this morning. I've said, okay, we need to obtain the OKRX from, this is an internal tool of ours, the strategic workforce plan. That was the one I shared earlier with the example of the goals. Create a task for the team member to add their scoreboards into the OKRX app. Enroll the team member into days 1 to 5 of training. So when we onboard a new team member, there's 5 1-hour sessions of training that they go through around objectives, key results, X factors, having daily huddles, having what we call our one-on-one sessions and win-win agreements, all set up to help the person to win at work. We want to be able to send a copy of the OKRX from the strategic workforce plan to the team member so that they get the pre-work that was done. We actually put these in things like their employment contracts and inside in the job ads, but we still need the team member to have it on day one so they can set up their scoreboards. Create a task for the team member to send a copy of their scoreboard to their client or leader at the end of the day using a templated email so that we can send that through and just validate, is it right? Day 2, that morning. Now, this is now the important part of adoption, where we want to help an individual to execute consistently. So, and this is really where automation is going to become powerful. In the morning, send a reminder to plan the day to work on the X factors or their metrics and update their scoreboards. It's amazing how quickly, how fast, and in fact, have you ever done a planning day with your team? You've come up with all these great ideas, maybe new goals. Everyone like high fives, they shake hands, they might even sign a contract that they'll do that work. And then by the following day, they'll turn to you and say, what was it we were working on again? And it's amazing how just overnight or in the busyness of the day, just how quickly the amnesia effect hits us. And so as human beings, we tend to lose 50% of what we've learnt by that night, 90% within 1 week. And so when we can not fight with, but work with how our brains work, we can set up the systems to help an individual to have adoption of any system. And this is, if you think about it this way, what you're seeing here is a process for adoption of a new system within an organization. So in this example here, we're saying send a morning reminder to plan the day and work on those metrics and update the scoreboards. We then create a task for the team member to confirm any changes to their scoreboard with their leader and client. So if there's been any changes required on the feedback, make sure they get done. Create a task to document the X factor as a standard operating procedure. So some of these metrics, they actually require a standard operating procedure behind them so that there's clarity on what to do. The next one is create a task to send a copy of the standard operating procedure to the client for review or to their leader. Send a reminder after the lunch break to update the scoreboards because we would have done a bit of work on that. So let's get some progress update. Even though we know to do it, we haven't yet formed the habit of it yet. So that reminder is there. Send an email at the end of day reminder to update their scoreboards again. We want to make sure that with our metrics, our scoreboards, to keep the main thing, have the individual see the progress occurring, and then get the dopamine hit associated to it. So these reminders and to update the scoreboards is actually to get the body's reward system, dopamine, to actually be triggered and get the little feeling of winning and the progress. If this doesn't happen, and you get to the end of day 5 and it's like, oh my goodness, I need to do that work and catch up. What we get is a cortisol release. And so we get stress hormones to drive the result, which is, we'll get the result, but it ends up having a negative association on the work. We want positive association on the work. So we get this bedded in week 1 that a culture of execution and winning is what we do. Now, in a perfect world, a leader might sit beside a team member and remind them all the time. But in reality, we don't have that as a resourcing across any organization. So we're going to turn to this automation to help and AI to help us. Send end of day reminder update scoreboards to do those. And then going to day 3, send a morning reminder to plan the day to work on X factors and scoreboard updates, same as the one before. Complete the daily huddle training, which is another training that gets done. Send the morning reminder. I've doubled up on that one, so I can take that one out. So we'll just delete that one. Send a reminder to update the scoreboards after the lunch break. And then I need to add another one for end of day. So I said, this won't be perfect. This is my first pass. I can see there's already other things to add in. So a fair few reminders there all the way through to the end, which is day 5, create a task to send a screenshot of the scoreboard with progress update, an email to leader or client. We may actually choose to bring a few or more of those in at the end of the days so that we can sort of pressurize the system around getting the accountability up. Now, you don't have to type. One thing I like about this approach is rather than typing, I can just talk to it. So I could say something like, day 3, create a task to send a screenshot of scoreboard with progress update email to client or leader. And I can then just give it a quick edit afterwards. Why I like to talk versus type is that apart from the fact that the pressure when everyone's watching, right? There's I'm often a bit slower and make mistakes. But we speak at 140 words per minute on average versus typing around 40. So I think that it's better where we can speak. And also it depends on you as an individual, your communication and learning styles and modality. You might find that just talking through it's a lot faster as well. Now, the beauty of this is that we can change these items around as we need them. But what's really nice is we can convert this to a process map afterwards. And so this system's designed specifically for helping us go from an idea to execution really quickly. And when you're planning out your digital transformations, I really encourage you to process map first what you're doing. This is in this first design phase here that we're going through to actually look at, or the discovery phase, pardon me, initial discovery where you can start to look at what is the process. And then in the design phase, we're going to go in and start looking at, putting this into place, like building it out. And, but in discovery here, we've got to look at what are all the different steps, what systems are you going to use before you're then translating this over into the execution phase. So this is the beginning of it. And in not next week, but the week after session, we're going to take this through to converting it into both a workflow as well as showing you where the automations with AI will connect into it. And with this, the plan here is that we're going to take, and you'll be able to end up doing the same thing in your organization for your own team members. So although we do this time to value for our clients, if you think about it, we need time to value for all of our team members in our organizations. Do they have clear goals? Are they meeting or exceeding the goals within 5 days? Does that sound like a good idea for everyone on the call, having team members with time to value and meeting or exceeding their targets within 5 days? If you like that idea, pop a Y for a yes in the chat. We've got a big love heart from Nicole. Thank you, Nicole. It is possible. What I do know is that it's just not easy to do it without the support of automation. And so what we're going to see is how The AI is going to end up sending personalized communications to team members, as well as the automation inside of this to be able to essentially trigger this off for any new team member and help them all the way through. Now, I can guarantee you by the time we come back, this won't be a 22-step process. It's probably going to be like 50 or 60 as we look at really uncovering what we're doing currently and how we turn this into digital transformation. So your challenge between now and when we get together next time is pick one process in your organization and map it out in some detail. You can do that in Excel, just brainstorming it out. That's a really great tool for doing it in. Or if you would like to get your hands on Do This Too and do it like we're doing it, please just reach out to me. I'll pop my email here in the chat. You can get me at matt@multiply.tech, and we will happily spin up a beta version of our Do This Too program so that you can have a play around in there and start doing some brainstorming. Enjoy using it for task management as well. I'm loving it, that's for sure. It's got a whole range of other features in there that you may not use just yet, but we'll happily share those with you so you can check it out. I think it's nice. She's added my email address as well. And when we get together next, we'll see this as a automated workflow, and we'll also be looking at the intelligent process automation component, which brings both the AI agents and automation together so that we can have processes like this executed with great consistency. All right, team, I'm going to try and keep these sessions at 30 minutes so that you can get on with your day, or a little bit over time today. But you've got yourself, hopefully you've got yourself a challenge, plan of attack to pick one process in your own organization, map it out in detail, and then start thinking also about what are the different tools that you'll need to use in that process, or what are the tools that you're currently using. In many cases, it might be task management, it might be Word, Excel, you might have software that you're using to help run your business, it might be accounting software, it could be something that's a specialist for your organization. If you've got software programs that you're using that are specialists for your organization, one of the key things to look out for is, do they have an API, an application program interface? And in next week's session, we'll talk more about APIs and also be sharing with you how APIs are connected to different systems, because that will be a fundamental piece around digital transformation, bringing different systems together. All right, team, thank you so much. Great to have you here for this session, part 1, and looking forward to seeing you for part 2 in 2 weeks' time. Bye for now. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Dan. Thanks, Ezio. Thanks, Chris. Great to see you again. Nicole, Angie, Ryan, have a great day. Razul, good to see you again. Bye, everyone.